Do you want to massively upgrade your key sounds so that you can do things like this? Well, then you need a modern keys rig where you connect your keyboard to your computer. Then when you press the keys, your computer generates sounds for those notes that you play. It's super easy to set this up. You'll only need a keyboard, a computer, and some software. If you already have a keyboard, check the back to make sure it either has a USB port or a 5-pin MIDI port. Practically every keyboard made in the last 30 years is going to have one or even both of these ports. If you don't have a keyboard yet, I guess you're out of luck. Just kidding. You're gonna need to pick one up. So I like using a website like sweetwater.com because they take good care of their customers. Just search for MIDI keyboard and then you can sort by price, number of keys, hair color, eye color, weight. Actually, whether you do want a weighted or a semi-weighted key bed, so that's important. That's how heavy the keys feel. Now, for a computer, you're probably going to want a Mac. I know I love Windows PCs too, but for music, I found that Macs tend to just work better. If you're on a budget, the oldest Mac I'd recommend getting is a 2015 MacBook Pro. In fact, that's what I still run my live keys rig on. A computer is probably going to be the most expensive part of your keys rig, but it's still cheaper and more flexible and way more powerful than using a workstation keyboard like that fancy red keyboard we all know. And the cool thing about a computer is that you can use it for more than just music. For software, this one's pretty easy. If you have a Mac, like I said, get MainStage. MainStage is made by Apple specifically for live keys use. It's only $30 in the App Store. It's honestly a steal. Then do yourself a favor and go download KeyStudio. KeyStudio is a platform I made, full disclaimer. It's in MainStage and it gives you awesome sounds, makes using MainStage extremely simple. If you're on a budget, you can even download the free version of KeyStudio. Seriously, you can have these sounds for free with KeyStudio. Now, remember when I mentioned that using a Mac makes things easier? Well, MainStage only runs on Mac computers. But good news for you PC guys out there, there are a few other options besides MainStage if you have to use that Windows PC. The drawback is that these tend to be a bit more complicated to use and in some ways even less powerful. Not to mention, they oftentimes are going to cost more. In fact, I don't know anything that's cheaper than MainStage, $30. So if you have a Windows PC, you are looking for alternatives to MainStage, you can check out Gig Performer or Ableton Live. Both of those options run on both Macs and PCs, but if you do have a Mac, seriously, once again, get MainStage. Now that we have all of our gear, let's set it up. I'll connect my keyboard to my computer with this USB cable. It's the same type of USB cable that most printers use. If your keyboard doesn't have a USB port, you will need a 5-pin MIDI cable. Don't let that name scare you, because there's only 2 types of 5-pin MIDI cables to choose from, depending on how you want to connect your keyboard to your computer. The first type is a 5-pin MIDI to USB cable. With this type of cable, you plug the 5-pin into your keyboard's MIDI port that is labeled out, and then you plug the USB end into your computer. Super simple. The other type of 5-pin MIDI cable has the same 5-pin connectors on both ends. This one here. To use this cable, you would still plug one end into your keyboard's MIDI output port, but we obviously can't plug this other end into the computer. So in this type of setup, you're going to need an audio interface with a MIDI in port. We plug the cable into the MIDI in port of the audio interface. Then use a USB cable to connect the audio interface to the computer. Audio interfaces are really neat because in addition to connecting the keyboard to the computer, they can also route audio out of your computer so that you don't have to use that headphone port in your computer to send audio to your speakers, headphones, or soundboard. It is a bit more of an advanced setup though to use an audio interface, so if you don't have one, no worries. Use the headphone port for audio output and that's totally fine. Finally, I'll plug in my sustain pedal. Open KeyStudio for MainStage, and that's it. I'm ready to start playing. Now, to take your keys rig to the next level, you can assign your physical knobs, faders, buttons, that sort of thing, to control parameters and effects inside of MainStage. That is, as long as your keyboard has those knobs, faders, buttons, etc. And if it doesn't, you can always pick up a MIDI controller, like this Korg Nano Control 2. Buttons, faders, etc. This plugs in via USB to your computer and gives you those controls. This was an overview of everything you need to create a modern keys rig. If you want more in-depth training on using MainStage, KeyStudio, or even connecting all of your gear, I've put together a free course that covers all of this stuff in great detail. You can find that video course here on my YouTube channel, as well as on worshipteamresources.com. There's a link to that free course in the description below this video. I hope this video helped you out. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them below. Thanks for watching. I'm Ryan. Take care. Set up that keys rig. I'll catch you later.